Hello and welcome back to Versus. I've been on holiday. I'm back. I've had a nice week down on the south coast, but you don't really care about that. We're here for some Canlander versus live. Well, not really live, but you know what I mean. We've got James playing Esper Control against Jay playing Izzet Tempo in this episode. James's Esper control list is a standard Esper control list with all of the best Esper control cards in it. Pointed cards are Demonic Tutor, Tainted Pact, Mana Drain, True Name Nemesis, Treasure Cruise, and Dig Through Time. And I'm going to hand over to Kieran to tell us about Jay's deck.
Yeah, so Jay's deck is basically an Izzet Tempo deck, using lots of free spells and cheap interaction, small creatures that will hopefully win the game for them, such as Yidavra Secrets, Dragon's Rage Channeler, cards that you want to get down on turn 1 that will grow themselves. And the point spread is very similar again, with both the Dow spells, the Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time, True Name Nemesis, Mystical Tutor, Mana Drain, and then the last points being used to Strip Mine. So only 7 points being used, but all the best blue spells in there. So it's a control mirror almost. So let's see how this goes.
Yeah, lots of spells. We expect lots of spells, but although it's going to be a control-y mirror with a lot of counter spells, it's a very different kind of game plan, right?
Yeah, so the tempo deck, like I say, you've got all those really cheap creatures, so you want to land a threat early and sort of back it up with all that counter magic. Whilst James has less creatures, but more impactful creatures, I'd say.
Yeah, interestingly, James was telling me that this list, and by the way, I'll put the lists of the decks in the comments of the video, or in um, the description of the video. But James used to be playing this deck as a list that only had one creature in it, and has recently updated it because creatures are too good nowadays.
Yeah, Magic in 2024, every creature's got an ETB, every creature does something for value-wise, so it's quite difficult to not play them nowadays. I believe the only creature he was playing before was Snapcaster Mage, which is basically a second copy of every instant and sorcery in his deck, which makes sense. But now there's quite a few creatures in there, which you'll, like Nathan said, you'll be able to see in the description.
When the deck list has fewer creatures, what is the win condition for this kind of deck? Because like I expect it to be once you've stuck a couple of bodies, you just control the board and get in a little points of damage.
Yeah, I think it's that for both players, like we see here. The Sprite Dragon, a cheap 2 mana creature with haste that gets bigger every time you cast a non-creature spell. And we're already having our first counter war over it, so we've got a mana leak into a misdirection there to try and force this creature through, and we've got it to resolve, and it's dealt 1 damage.
Off to the races. Yeah, but I guess like you were saying, super important to just make sure that early creature sticks.
Yes, and a big thing here though, having to use misdirection there is card disadvantage. In the control mirror, you definitely don't want to waste too many cards. There we go. The Sprite Dragon has survived. It's quite surprising. As you can tell, Jay quite excited by that because this creature could quite easily take over the game with a couple of spells cast. But I'm sure there is probably some sort of instant in James's hand which will deal with this. So, second fight, expressive iteration into remand. That one resolves.
This one's back to hand though, so that can come back later.
Yeah.
And importantly, we do get the counter on the Sprite Dragon.
Yes, the spell is cast. Strip Mine being used there to reduce the land count from James. Probably quite important considering a lot of his cards are more 4 mana.
Right.
His bigger threats. Whereas Jay can operate on fewer lands.
Also got the Rafine's Tower as well, which is all 3 colours for the deck.
Yes. I know there are a couple, maybe it might be just one, but actual off-color tri-lands to accommodate the Prismatic Vista and Leyline Binding in the deck as well.
Wow, fun.
This time the expressive iteration resolves, which is huge because this is hopefully card advantage. Ideally with this you want to hit a land and a spell, so you get a free land drop for turn, and you get a spell that you can use to keep this Sprite Dragon around. And we do see the land there being put into exile and then put straight into play, being Polluted Delta.
I remember this card. Was it Strixhaven it was released in? It
Yeah,
was.
Strixhaven.
Everyone went absolutely mad for it. All of the I think it was Standard Showdown, booster packs, prize packs had an alt art version of these, and they ended up going for quite a lot considering it's just an uncommon.
Fairly sure, yeah. This card actually got banned in Legacy. It was that good.
What?
So yeah, Expressive Iteration, very powerful card. Okay. Very nice, but again, card disadvantage there. So you got a card back from the Expressive Iteration.
And use it straight away.
Yeah.
So Fury just does 4 damage when it's evoked.
So it does 4 damage on ETB.
Yeah.
When you evoke it, it enters the battlefield for a brief period of time. You get the evoke trigger and the ETB trigger, which with some decks you can abuse it by flickering it to keep it around. But this time just being used as a wonderful removal. There was a stifle check there. I think is there a stifle in this deck? Let's have a quick check. There is a stifle in this deck, so that would also again be like a free strip mine for 1 mana, which is very important in these type of games.
These are similar to the kind of deck that you play, is it? Is that right?
Yes, I'm on Jeskai control.
Okay.
So I get to abuse the strong white cards as well. Seeing here the One Ring resolving, that is a worry because that is just card advantage. So if that doesn't get answered, Jay is going to get absolutely buried in card advantage here, and that is not where you want to be in the control matchup. Looks like there's only 1 card in James's hand, maybe more. I think there's a Snapcaster Mage in there, isn't there?
I didn't see. You're the keen-eyed one of the two of us.
Oh no, there are 3 cards in hand. A Snapcaster Mage, potentially a land.
I know that you might have wanted to get the attack and send a message.
I always send a message there.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you can't deal the damage, you get the attack.
So the One Ring gives you protection. Is it protection or just you can't take damage?
It's protection.
But either way, James was still fully expecting Jay to swing with that Sprite Dragon.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've seen the One Ring. It's been in play for 1 turn cycle now, and it's already drawn 3 cards. So. Oh, this is the small creatures all coming down now. So let's see what can be done. It is the Snapcaster Mage. And now we've got a counter war. Not pretty quick one there.
Bear with me a second. This is in response to the triggers, I guess.
So we've got a few triggers on the stack.
Yeah, so the Sprite Dragon should have a trigger, and the Young Pyromancer. And there should also be
a Goblin Guide draw as well, right?
There should also be a Goblin Guide trigger on the stack as well.
I'm assuming. So let's get the board state right. Are you still blocking?
I mean, whatever. I'm pretty good.
It has trample.
Why does it have trample?
No, it doesn't have trample. I think that's
It does not have trample, but it is a 4/4. And here's the Goblin God trigger, a mana train on top.
horribly wrong on camera.
It's alright.
It's fine. We did everything in roughly the right order. Right, I will take 2 more. Go to 6.
Sometimes it's fun to just listen to what they're talking about.
Yes.
That was difficult. That would have been difficult to commentate on, considering the lack of order.
Yes. There was like they said, the Brazen Borrow was cast in response to all the triggers, and then all the triggers happened at the same time, or
card was my mana
in the
trigger.
wrong order.
So,
But
you know.
Yeah, it's not.
that is a
Not a
quick
single
game there,
thing that
where
deals
we
with
saw
it.
the
Yeah,
threat
well, this is the
resolve,
thing of like,
followed up by a few more cheap
I figured
threats, and we
you were
got
probably
there.
relying on countering my first creature, so the misdirection seemed
Well,
worthwhile.
that's exactly what Izzet Tempo is meant to do, right?
Yeah.
To be fair.
And like
Yeah,
Jay
well,
says
yeah,
there,
well,
countering that
that's
first
always
creature,
try and be
having the misdirection to keep it around, and then just having small other creatures to back it up. Got there.
doing tempo things.
So that was game one. It's going to game two now.
I don't think that's the game.
It's a very different matchup to the one that we were watching last time around, which was a combo deck versus a creature-based, like,
Yes.
toolbox style,
I know I'm fetching an underground
just
sea, so I might as well
outvalue
see
your
what's
opponent.
gonna happen.
Yeah. So, like, with neither of these two decks being combo decks, you don't have to hold up the counter magic. You can sort of tap out, but neither
That's
deck
true.
really wants to ever tap out because, like I say, you just want to fight over card advantage spells or get these cheap threats down.
If it counts a non-creature,
I think we saw Jay on a mulligan down to 6 here, so
well, it counts a one.
on the draw, basically get that card back almost free. And we've got a turn 1 fetch into a underground sea. Okay. That's a way to start.
He's not forcing a consider. There's no
Oh,
reason-
James has been a bit naughty there. He's gone straight away resolved to consider without even asking. Jay's told him off, rightly so.
Yeah. To be fair, you might not force of will, but you might mental misstep it, which is one of the cards in Jay's hand, so he has
Yes.
every right there to tell him off for that. We'll see if that's relevant, if that mental misstep ever comes up again. Reprieve here. So there we go. He's had the counter spell for the initial creature now.
Yes, it's big.
So yeah, this
18.
he is missing blue source at the moment, actually.
Try to play a Kaito Shizuki.
You are going to. What does this one do? May I?
Yeah, feel free. He will make.
What does this one do? So Kaito's from Neon Dynasty, so I do recognise it, but I never really played it because it's a mythic, and as a limited player, you don't see many of them.
Yes. So yeah, at the beginning of your end step, if Kaito enters the battlefield this turn, he phases out. +1, draw a card, then discard a card unless you attack this turn. -2, create a 1/1 blue ninja creature token with this creature can't be blocked. And -7, you get an emblem with whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, search your library for a black or blue creature and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle.
But
So
basically this is just a card draw engine then in James's deck, right?
yeah, so it's almost goes along the tempo route with it. Comes down, it puts a cheap creature into play.
Interesting. So Jay played the electrostatic infantry. It got reprieved, and then instead of replaying that, they've played the young pyromancer, and they've recognised the mistake that they've made.
It mightn't. I suppose if you've not got a land drop getting your pyromancer down, if
Makes
Jay,
sense, I suppose.
So here's the mental misstep. If he went with the Thoughtseize first, he would have got the 1/1 creature. And there we go. The explanation for the mental misstep versus consider.
I'm playing this Anchorage.
Interesting. So Jay's turn 1 strip mine. Is that something that you do regularly against whatever deck? Considering Izzet Tempo doesn't use much mana, or is that kind of a consideration for the matchup? Do you think?
So I think that might be a consideration for the matchup. You don't always want to run out a strip mine Because if your opponent just goes land 2, land on 2, land on 3, land on 4, you've kind of not really achieved anything.
Yeah.
But against a control deck, keeping them on less mana,
Yeah, it makes
uh,
sense.
definitely important.
Yeah, what's Snapcaster doing?
So we've got a gut shot there, another free spell, but
Yeah.
missing those
So-
land drops is going to really hurt, I suspect.
And then I will.
Yeah, I'm missing one land drop so far. James missing a land drop though. There's not really much advantage either way at the moment. I mean, there is a planeswalker and a creature on one side of the board. Looks like there's a Snapcaster mage. We could see Snapcaster, gut shot Snapcaster here, trying to keep the board empty.
Yeah, just pass the turn, I guess.
Going with a pass there, so might want to do it in James's turn to force him to use his mana.
Thank you for 2.
Takes the 2.
Go to 13.
Yes, I will.
Just going to wait for James to use mana, but he's playing a control
Yeah.
deck. But it's not
I
gonna
think
happen,
in this
right?
situation, you just don't want to tap out at any point. I mean, deploying a second threat, sure. A
Especially
2
when
mana
it's
8/8.
Okay, so this is an example of a creature in this day and age that you just play.
So our boomerang is going to bounce back to the hand. And then, yeah, this is where the lack of mana is going to hurt.
Drawing the lands.
All spell pierced.
Yeah.
Yeesh.
Well, that's a land, but that's a little bit.
So they have drawn a land, but
Yeah.
things have got a little bit out of control already.
Yeah, like I said, there's an 8/8 that's going to get you got in 2 turns if you've not got an answer for it. And I imagine boomerang is probably the only answer that they had.
Boomerang's just on summon, right? But it can. What's the upside on summon? Does it do permanence as well or something?
The boomerang return target permanent to its owner's
Okay.
hand. So if you've kind of got like the strip mine, you can target lands, target planeswalkers,
Yeah,
and summon.
that's a lot better.
Just targets creatures.
Well, I mean, that probably means this is fine.
Oh,
That'll do it.
and there we go. Yeah, it tries to deploy a threat, probably to draw some cards there, but
For a while.
not gonna get there with the amount of card advantage that James has built up over the game.
No. And it's not. You didn't have loads of spells to choose from either, did you?
No, I could gut shot.
Interesting difference between these two decks that I noticed from the lists is that James is playing 35 lands, which is probably fairly standard for a 100 cards deck
Yeah,
in a high power
say so.
format. And the Izzet Tempo deck's playing 29.
But yeah, 29 lands with 5
Interesting playable hand. Terrible.
double face lands
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
yeah. So that those additional slots that are lands.
I feel like mine is actually.
Makes sense.
Yes.
An interesting playable hand or an interesting terrible hand.
Keep this,
I'm gonna keep 2.
and I'm gonna like maybe regret that horribly. So we'll find out.
Okay, that's a very interesting hand.
So I won't play.
Yes.
Solitude.
Neither of them are
I am going to
particularly enamoured with their hands.
Yeah. Well, we're all gonna get to see this one.
kept, I guess, unless you want to force of will.
There is a force of will.
Could have done.
See, Force of Will, a spell pierce, and negate.
Oh, you did have the force of
I
will.
do have
Oh,
Force.
that's fun.
Solitude and Baleful Strength.
You have.
That is a beautiful Baleful Strix from the new Critters collection from Bloomberg over there as well.
Nice.
So lovely to see.
I see.
Always impressed with how quickly constructed players can upgrade their decks.
That's my.
You have to have the latest bling card.
What's that Jurassic card? Jurassic Park card in the middle there.
That is a. Putting me on the spot now. It is a permission denied. White
Okay.
and a blue. Can't attack a non-creature spell. Your opponent can't cast non-creature spells this turn.
I like to
So
keep you on your
negate.
toes.
Negate with silence slapped on it. Yeah, those types of
On turn 4, which feels
cards, yeah, I don't recognise them straight away. Had to check that one.
See, that's why I asked you about that one.
Yeah, the first time.
Here we go. This looks like a counter, a control game. Both just playing out their lands, passing the turn.
How different this is to what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I will crack this. 17. Gonna get surveillance.
I'm always afraid to crack my fetch land
Into open
because of
mana.
the Stifle.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good. In that
If it was nothing worse than getting stifled and basically strip mining yourself and having to pay 1 mana for the privilege of it.
you say so.
So I have a fairly general question about the format.
Okay.
These two decks have spread their points. They've not used up all of their points, right? But they've spread their points out over 6 or 7 cards.
Yep.
Whereas last time around we had a deck just going all out on Black Lotus and Underworld Breach. Do most decks spread it out, or is it a case of if you're playing a combo deck, you just want to use your points up for those big hitter combo cards that you're going to be searching for and tutoring for?
I think, yes, combo decks, you want the best, most efficient way to combo your opponent. So those cards usually cost the most. And I also think a lot of cards are sort of underpointed. Being able to play a lot of these cards like Treasure Cruise, Mana Drain, True Nemesis, Stick Through Time, all being ones. There's almost no real cost to it. It just means you don't get to play. Like, I imagine both of these decks would love to play Ancestral Recall, which is 8 points. So you can't play that alongside many cards, basically. It just forces you to sort of choose whether you want to go for a big, expensive, pointed card or all the small ones.
Yeah. And when it's a 100 card, like, to me, I'm thinking, why would I spend all of my points on one card when I'm playing a 100 card singleton format?
So you'll find decks that will play the combo will also have all the tutors that aren't pointed, so they are effectively playing like 6 or 7 copies of Underworld Breach.
Ooh, we've got our first spells being cast.
Yeah. So we've got Baleful Strix into the Mana Drain, into the Spell Pierce.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so that's results. I will draw a card, and I will pass to you.
Baleful Strix was always one of my favourite cards.
Yes.
As somebody who started out as a Dimir player in Standard and in Commander, played Esper in Commander with an Aminatu Blink Flicker deck. Baleful Strix, love it.
Very cost-efficient value card. Comes in, it's a 1/1 with flying and death touch, so 2 keywords. And it instantly replaces itself by drawing you a card. You can use it to trade off with any creature they control, pretty much with it having flying. And like you say, if you start blinking it, you just start getting free advantage from it.
Will Solitude
And the weird negate.
the weird negate?
The Jurassic Park negate.
Probably wasn't winning that counter war as well, so. But being able to get one of the counter spells out of the hand is probably worth it.
Sorry, what mana does this make?
Blue, black, black.
You don't have any white mana.
No.
Oh, that's fun.
So here's an interesting point about James and his mana bases. I make those kinds of comments to James in Limited all the time because he uses these shiny basic lands from the what set is it from?
It's the Phyrexian All-We-Want Oil Slick lands. I
Oil
believe.
Slick. It's the oil. You can't tell what they are at all. So I'm constantly asking what colours he's got available.
Yeah.
Chicken friend sounds good.
Chicken friend.
We've now called Baleful Strix Chicken Friend, so interesting. See, the game is very different now. Jay, knowing that there is a Force of Will in hand, how do you go around that? Do you have to bait it out with a spell that you're happy to lose, but you know your opponent wants to counter? Or do you just... it's difficult. It makes the whole game so much harder knowing that's there. I kind of always want to rip the bandit off and force the opponent to use it, so...
You do, but you also know that the opponent knows that you want it gone.
Yeah.
So
I think you just have to play your best spell into
I
it.
think so. I think so.
So here we go. Murktide. Usually, I'd say Murktide is a great card. It's only entering as a
The Drew is
5
It's not entering
power
at all.
creature. It's not entering.
set to pitch this.
I think I'd let this resolve, having the Baleful Strix there that happily blocks it.
That's very hard.
Interesting.
But I suppose the subtlety there, putting the card onto the bottom, it is gone forever. Wise decision there because there are no cards left in the graveyard, so it is now a
Really like this card. It currently gives
silly 7. Is it 7 or 8 mana creature?
Oh right, okay,
Seven.
yeah, because it's on cast that you exile your graveyard.
Yeah,
Subtlety, there's no point putting it back on top because it's
And then I'll pass.
yeah,
useless. I like it.
brave of you.
yeah. 7 mana 3/3, not quite as good as a 2 mana 8/8 there.
I suppose, yeah, power creep is a thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't, although I'm not sure that was ever good enough.
Right, so here the game starting to turn, I believe. James managing to untap, play a land, pass. Probably sat there with about 4 or 5 counter spells in hand, just looking to get the job done with this 1/1. Jay playing Brainstorm.
Just
to
a
try.
case of going, yeah, sure, you can cast Brainstorm, draw whatever you want, whatever you play is going to get countered.
Yeah. And if you do get the counter for my counter, I've still got the Force of Will in hand, along with a Solitude as well.
And you know.
Yeah. So we're currently looking. We saw Subtlety last turn. We know there's 2 more free spells in James's hand, so it's gonna be very difficult for Jay to get back into this, I believe. This Brainstorm has to be pretty good here. Okay, the perfect Brainstorm here, where you get to play a fetch land, so you've put 2 cards back on top,
You
and
didn't
you get
like
to
them.
shuffle them away,
Yep.
I will get a meticulous.
and they're gone for good. And maybe you'll draw that Murktide that you've put on the bottom of your deck, because now you want it.
Yeah, then it'll
Unlikely,
be
but
actually useful.
There is so many cards in here I've not seen this art before because they weren't in the deck before.
James struggling to find a spell land.
Can't easily find things.
That's one of the interesting things. I'm obviously always comparing this kind of format back to limited, but one of the main differences that I've noticed is how willing people are to 2-for-1 themselves in terms of card disadvantage, to make sure that things don't resolve or don't stick around. Just remove things by playing 2 cards.
It was previously like the
In limited, like that's just a no-no.
Yeah.
Because in limited, the main resource that you're fighting over is cards. It's why in limited, when you play a creature and it comes with a token, it's a big deal. Like that extra piece of cardboard is always something that you want to see. Whereas
Yeah.
in high power Magic, it's less about fighting over cards and more about fighting over mana, right?
Yeah. So here's a good example. James has just drawn a Cryptic Command. So for 4 mana, he is going to get to counter a spell and draw a card. So he may have wasted cards earlier on in the game, but that is going to give him card advantage back against his opponent.
I guess that's a good point. Your recovery, your ability to recover from that card disadvantage is much better.
Yes.
I know that sentence doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. I did order food.
So they're looking at James's hand now. There's a Solitude, the Cryptic Command, the Force of Will, and the Permission Denied. Okay, we're drawing passing.
basic island.
Land, probably passing again. Okay.
Woohoo! Control.
We might have reached the stage in a control game where both players just look at their hands. It's nothing but counter spells and no threats to deploy, so they just sit and stare at each other.
I suspected
Hoping
that
to draw lands.
when they kept their opening hands and were saying that these were kind of dodgy keeps, it was probably because they had a lot of interaction and not many threats.
Yeah. So I think we've only seen a Baleful Strix, haven't we? So
The Murktide Regent came out, but didn't
yeah,
stick
that was
around.
also counted.
Correct?
So yeah, draw go.
Fun, exciting game.
While they're doing absolutely nothing, I'm just gonna. Oh no, what's this?
Flame of an Ore. Try and draw 2 cards, I imagine.
James doesn't care, like we said before. Yeah, just
Yep.
gonna say, I'm still absolutely buzzing from last weekend's pre-release at the Dice Cup here in Nottingham, where we had an 81 player event on the Friday night. We had 5 events across the 3 days and 211 tickets bought. Very big pre-release event, and it was a ton of fun. I made it to 3 of the 5 events.
I'm anti-royal, so that's fair.
Yep. I also only made it to 3 of the 5 events, but each one was, like you say, 81 people on the Friday night. Massively fun. Tiring night as well.
Yep, for sure. Trying to look after 81 Magic players.
Yep.
Yeah, baby. Psychic Frog's here.
No
Back to the
way.
game. We finally
What?
have a threat.
Go ahead. This is
That art is incredible.
Not a psychic frog.
Yeah,
It's solid.
It's an MH3 card.
Solid card.
Walter.
it is, and this is one of those cards that just has lines and lines of text for 2 mana. So it's 2 mana, you get 1/2. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker, which is important. Draw a card, discard a card to put +1/+1 counter on it, and exile 3 cards from your bin to give it flying. So it's pretty much always getting in.
But I don't know. He's got delve spells in that deck, right? Do you really want to be exiling cards to give it flying?
Wow.
To be honest.
I don't think so. It does combo well with Murktide as well, though. If you've got a Murktide out, you just exile 3 cards to give Murktide 3 more power and toughness as well. I think it's more just in there as a 2 mana value creature, a bit like Baleful Strix, except this one's repeatable
Yeah, true, that's fair.
card draw.
I mean, it's a new enough card that James is probably trying it out.
Yeah. We have just played a 4/5 creature, and here we get to see the Cryptic Command counter and draw, so card advantage swinging James's way.
Yeah, slowly but surely that win predictor percentage is favouring James.
Yeah.
This is a no one's drawn enough.
Have you played the Force of Will I know about? Yeah.
Nope.
I love that. The cheek. Just remind me what's still in your hand, James.
Yeah. I think it is just Force Will and Solitude that we saw still in there, so both of them live at this. Oh, it has been redrawn, the Murktide region.
No way.
That can resolve, that's fine.
What's resolving?
There's a Solitude in hand, isn't there? So
At least when it gets exiled to Subtlety,
What's that other card there?
you don't have to draw.
Can you tell what it is? Can you tell what
which
it
one?
is?
Sorry.
The other
Which
card in
side?
James's hand.
Alright, let me.
I'd like to resolve this later.
Ah, you're too late. It's resolved.
Leyline Binding. That's new artwork again, isn't it? That's from the
I'm also going
Outlaws of Thunder Junction bonus sheet there. And I followed up with Fairy Mastermind as well.
This is on my turn.
This is your end step, yeah.
Is this still my turn? You're casting more spells than I've cast this turn. This isn't fair.
I'll attack you for 2.
We
You
do
can't
have a threat
complain,
now.
Jay. You're playing blue too.
12. I will play a Waste of Teeth and pass to you. No. This set are all borderless foils. These ones are all Zendikar Expeditions. And as soon as these become borderless foils, they
Oh, we've got to the point in the game where we're just admiring the art of James's cards.
Yeah,
Look how
just
many
looking at
full
the
art.
land base.
Extended art cards.
17. I'm just going to get
I think it was actually myself commenting on the fact that the allied fetches don't match the enemy fetches there.
Ah, okay.
Which is, I imagine Wizards will fix that and happily print the enemy fetches in full art eventually, and then, as James said, he'll get them to match.
Spend all of his money to buy all of them.
Yeah. I'm also waiting for the full set of 10 to be released so I can upgrade mine.
Nice. Oh, so you've not gone with the half upgrade, you're just sticking with it
No.
until...
Demonstrate your
So I've got the original old border. I think it's
Why don't we each draw?
can't remember, but yeah, I've got the original old border fetches, and then the old border ones from MH2 as well.
Lovely.
but I am happy to draw.
A braid. I do love an braid.
Okay.
Untap.
So yeah, good use of a braid there to stop the second card being drawn from J to stop the mastermind from bring.
We draw like stuff which is useful against each
So what we got there? We got Force of Will, Mental Misstep, Counterspell, and Solitude on James's hand. And it's very difficult to see what's in J's hand. There is a strip mine. It's a bit late at this time,
It's not the
unfortunately.
right time for a strip mine.
Oh, Force of Negation there, another free counterspell.
Dear. James
So I
is
think
just
once,
flexing.
yeah, sleight of hand here. Probably looking for a threat.
Is that a Snapcaster Mage?
That is a Snapcast. Oh. That is a Snapcaster Mage, and that is a pretty full bin there, so I imagine there's something good worth recasting.
Did you notice the attempted sleight of hand, trying to put the spell into the
Yes.
bin instead of to the bottom of the library?
Yeah. Yeah, especially when taking a Snapcaster Mage, getting to recast the Lorien Reveal, draw lots more cards would be fun.
I can guarantee to everybody that that was just a mistake on James's part, although I seem to be accusing him of trying to cheat.
Little bit extra.
There we go, Mental Misstep used to count the one drop. Another land there from Jay, not the position you want to be in.
Snapcaster Mage. Consider.
So here we go, another cheap creature, Snapcaster Mage,
It's better
being used as a
Just to draw a
cantrip
card.
effectively. Yeah. So not going down on card advantage there, but also putting a threat into play.
Let's have a look what you've got. Inquisition of Kozilek.
What can that take again? Yours is in Japanese.
3 or less. Non-land 3 or less.
I mean, I may as well cast this just because it's free. The only target with 3 or less.
So we're wanting to even the score and have a look at Jay's hand now.
Yeah.
It's a 1/4.
Sure.
But Inquisition doesn't target a creature, so it's just getting specimen out, I suppose.
Mind
Yeah.
So Mind Collapse and an island.
Let's Solitude that.
Getting Solitude that. So yeah,
So you gave me
James seeing that the way is pretty clear at this point and gonna start deploying threats.
It's pressure time.
Understands that one of these threats is going to die, so you might as well put the second one out.
I'm going to Mind Collapse your Solitude.
Yep.
Makes sense. And although life totals are still look fairly healthy, they're gonna.
May as well play the island.
Well, no, there's only one creature. It's still going to be slow, but the number of cards in James's hand is just, and card
Yeah.
quality in James's hand, more importantly.
Yeah. Like 3 counter spells at least. Preordained to do more digging here.
I haven't drawn a cantrip.
Uh,
bottom the other one.
Have I drawn a cantrip?
Hull Breach and Terminus, the look there. So another threat, Hull Breacher.
Yes.
Probably going to be the nail on the coffin if that resolves. Any sort of attempt that Jay makes to try and draw cards going to be stopped with that.
What's your mana cost looking like at the moment?
Jay asking
Might-
what they want to do with this strip mine.
Yeah.
5, 6.
Is it worth me doing anything?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And the answer's no. James has got a lot of everything.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Well, I just drew this wasteland.
Okay, there's a wasteland to follow up. So we can.
May as well hit your headquarters.
Float of blue.
And I will hit your.
White is the one I've got the least of, theoretically. So you could.
Well, you don't need that much white.
It's mostly it. I'll float another blue.
Yeah, double strip mine. Well, strip mine and wasteland there.
I'll flash in a Hull Breacher.
Another threat deployed using the floating mana. The clock is now 2 turns, so very much advantage to James now.
I will cast Rafine Scheming Seer.
Just adding more threats to the board. Like, we know there's multiple counterspells in hand.
I will attack here and
Oh,
here.
this one puts power on the board straight away because it connives on attack,
Yes.
and it doesn't have to be Rafine attacking this one.
No. Discards a Fatal Push there. Probably not going to do much in this matchup at this point. And we're getting in for 6, putting Jay down to 3, so we do have 2 lethal threats on the board now. So this has to be a pretty good draw, considering there are multiple counterspells and multiple free counterspells as well.
I will counterspell.
Actual counterspell.
Actual factual counterspell being used here.
I mean, I have a burn spell and a force of will, so
I have Force Negations.
that's it.
And they're showing it off, yeah.
James knew he was winning that a good few turns ago, I think.
Yeah, it was just about getting the game done.
I do.
That was fun to watch, though. That was fun to watch. Very different game, like I said.
Yes.
Think like arse.
Unfortunate, like they're discussing now, unfortunate amount of lands drawn by Jay as opposed to actual card advantage, cards drawn. All the mana, nothing to do with it, basically.
Well, thanks for joining us, and until next time, bye.
Bye.